So, of course, you're going to be anxious if you believe that love has to be earned. Because when you're meeting someone, you're anxious if you're going to earn their love or not. And so, since you're anxious about if you're going to earn their love, if you're going to earn their trust, if you're going to earn their respect, if you're going to earn them staying around, earn them not abandoning you, you're anxious if they're going to do that for you. And you're anxious about what do you need to do to get them to act that way. You're anxious about what do I need to do to make them love me, want me, not cheat on me, not hurt me. What do I have to do? So you're going in with that mindset that I have to earn this. They can't just love me on their own. You had an anxious attachment to your parents. And so you are naturally, that's the attachment style you have. You felt you had to maybe earn things from your parents and earn their love and earn them praising you, or earn them being nice to you even, or earn them just having a good attitude that day. You felt like you had to do things to make them, act right, so to speak. So if you're growing up with parents like that in a household like that, that's how you think love is going to be. So,
excuse me, can I please talk to you for a minute?
hey girlfriends, welcome back to the Hey Girlfriend podcast. I'm your host, mindset and intuitive coach, Kendall D. And I decided to do a video, y'all. I decided I miss y'all seeing my face, because I'm like, okay, I want to start showing my face more and talking more. So I did my makeup at 1 o'clock in the freaking morning on a Sunday, which was Saturday, led into Sunday. And I got on makeup at 2:30 a.m. I ain't going nowhere. So I did a little makeup. It looks like it's a lot, but it's really lighter than what I usually wear. I don't even have on any lippies or nothing, but it's decent enough because I like to look decent on camera. That's just my thing. Like, you can call it insecure. I call it, that's just my thing. That's just how I feel comfortable presenting myself. So, whatever. But I said I miss being on camera. I miss editing and doing videos. So I said if I'm gonna start every weekend doing my videos. And I also just recorded my first episode of Toxic, which is me telling the story of the narcissist that I dated. And I have the book out, Toxic X Chronicles John, that you can read and follow along. The book is better because I feel like I'm leaving some things out, not on purpose, but the book is just better. The book is always better. So I decided to tell my story also on my YouTube channel. So I'm telling the story in a nutshell. Not really as detailed as the book, but yeah, so other people can, hear my story. And plus, if I want my book to be a series one day, let's get to talking about it on YouTube like it is a series already, So that's what I did. But anyway, today's topic, without further ado, is gonna be how I went from a anxious attachment to a secure attachment, because it can happen. Okay, like, I was very anxious. I was a very anxious person, and it showed in my dating experiences. And I learned something a little new just now, looking up a little bit about anxious attachment, because I like to give definitions, textbook definitions, before I just get off talking about my personal thing and how I move from it. So, anxious attachers typically have a hard time expressing needs and expressing emotions. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was part of anxious attachment. So, I thought it was just, being insecure, thinking your partner's always cheating, checking phones, being afraid they're going to leave you, abandonment wounds. I thought it was just that. No, I looked it up and I can't find it now. Here it is. Is this it? Yeah. It says anxious, has a sensitive nervous system, struggles communicating needs directly, and tends to act out when triggered, i.e. makes partner jealous. Baby, that was me. And then it says secure attachment can trust fairly easy, is attuned to emotions, can communicate upsets directly, leads with cooperative and flexible behavior in relationships. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what each mean. So my story with moving from anxious to secure. Here we go. And I'm going to give you steps on how you can do the same. by you just listening to my story and implementing it, because you can do it too. So with me, my partners that I chose to date, they were the ones that essentially made me even more anxious. They didn't really help what I already had going on within, But I honestly didn't know how to date any better. I didn't know how to choose any better. So the men that I were choosing typically were, I guess I would say they were anxious themselves. I know that they were emotionally unavailable for sure. And they had a lot of trauma and their own issues. But me being codependent as well, and then having codependency, at the time I didn't know it was codependency, but I had this need to feel needed. Feeling needed is how I felt loved. I wanted to have that deep appreciation. And so for me, I would pick these guys when I sensed that they had like a little trauma going on, or a little low self-esteem, where they were like, afraid of love. I can sense that they were a little emotionally unavailable. But I thought they liked me a lot. And I thought, since they liked me a lot, or they're giving me attention because, I was an attractive woman to them, I thought, well, maybe I can be the one to change them. And so I dedicated myself to them so that I could be that one to change them. All the while I'm dedicating myself to them to be the one to possibly change them, they're doing nothing but just really hurting me. They're hurting me more and more. And I'm just sucking it all in and taking it all in, thinking to myself, like, they're going to change one day. It's just they're, making excuses for me. I'm being very understanding. And so my goal was to get them to change for me. That was my main goal. I wanted them to change for me. I wanted to be that one for them. I wanted them to have like this deep, deep appreciation for me because I changed them. That's what I thought love was. I wanted that kind of love from them. So I would pour my all into them. And the whole relationship with each of my toxic exes was like really, really draining, to say the least. I was anxious all the time because, for legit reasons, I couldn't be emotionally available to them because they weren't emotionally available to me. So saying how I felt was an argument, or I would cry. We would argue. They would cheat on me. I would find out about other women. They didn't trust me. They were insecure about me. Checking my phone, trying to control me. And the whole while, I wasn't doing anything. I was making sure that I could be a good woman, so that they could trust me, and so that they can change for me. So I'm trying to be a good woman to them, so they can not cheat on me, not hurt me, and so that they can change for me, and so that they can trust me. I was all about trying to gain their trust, although I couldn't really trust them. I was so anxious because I'm like, when they're not around me, they're probably cheating on me, because I was always finding them in some shit. It was always like that. And I just put up with it and tolerated it because I was making these excuses for them. Like, okay, but, they have a hard time trusting women because, their upbringing. I knew both of them had really bad upbringings. So I made excuses from them. And I really, essentially, looking back now, I enabled them to hurt me. And so, of course, you're going to be anxious and some shit like that. But the thing is that I think I didn't understand then, and that you may not understand, but I'm going to help you to understand of why you're maybe picking people like that. It's because not only of your codependency, but it's because that is familiar to you in a sense. And so, although those interactions and those relationships don't feel safe, they feel normal to you. So even though it's hurting you, you feel like that's what it takes, and that it's that hurt has to come first before the good part. Or you think that this is what love is and that it's going to be okay. This is what you're used to. And in the whole time you have this not vendetta. You have this goal to basically get someone to change for you. And you're anxious the whole time because, like I said, who wouldn't be anxious? And you're picking that type of connection because that may have been the type of connection you had growing up. And even if you didn't necessarily have that connection, like maybe you had decent parents, you may have not been able to express how you felt. Or you may have had low self-esteem maybe throughout high school, throughout your teenage years, and you had no one to really be there for you to talk about that. And so now that you're older and you may have a little more confidence, you may have changed a little bit. You're no longer in high school to where it's like cliques and stuff like that. So you're able to be your own person a little bit more. And so now that you're a little older and you're going to try to get back what you lost in a sense. And then you don't really know anything about dating. So whoever likes you, because you've never been liked before, whoever seems to like you and show you a little attention, that's who you're going to go for. Whether it's a good connection or not, you don't care about that. You just care about that you're getting some type of attention. That also can lead you into an anxious attachment style, to where you're anxiously attached to someone. Because when you are anxious and you have an anxious attachment, what you're doing is you're looking for connections to help you soothe yourself, because you don't know how to soothe yourself. So since you're putting so much dependency in this person to soothe you, to maybe boost your self-worth, boost your self-esteem, to make you feel good about yourself, to make you feel loved, you're looking for someone else to do all that. And so if you're picking partners that are emotionally unavailable, they are unable to do that, and they're not going to do that. But you're going to keep trying for that, hence making you anxious, because you're anxious about them because they're not secure themselves. They're all over the place themselves. So you're anxious about that. And it's really you two coming together because you're both have the same similar attachment style. They may be a little more avoidant, but if they're emotionally unavailable and they're, acting out to try to make you jealous, or acting out because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. Most men tend to cheat and act out and date other women because they need an ego boost. They need to feel good about themselves. They need to have higher self-esteem. And that's their way of doing it. And they will cheat on you because they don't trust you and they're afraid to trust you. And so here you are trying to make them trust you so that they can change. You see how that connection goes? So it's really an anxious connection all around. And so, but how do you change that? It's, of course, easy to say you change partners. But the thing is, we date the type of partners that we think we deserve, and we date the type of partners that we think to be out there, and only believe are out there. And me, I only believe that it was only men out there that had trust issues. I only believe that it was men that I had to prove myself to. I didn't believe no man could come in really ready to have a real connection. I didn't think no man could just come in and just love me on their own without me having to make them love me. I didn't know love to be like that. So that in itself made me anxious, because I'm thinking love has to be earned. So of course you're going to be anxious if you believe that love has to be earned, because when you're meeting someone, you're anxious if you're going to earn their love or not. And so since you're anxious about if you're going to earn their love, if you're going to earn their trust, if you're going to earn their respect, if you're going to earn them staying around, earn them not abandoning you, you're anxious if they're going to do that for you. And you're anxious about what do you need to do to get them to act that way. You're anxious about what do I need to do to make them love me, want me, not cheat on me, not hurt me. What do I have to do? So you're going in with that mindset that I have to earn this. They can't just love me on their own. So I had the belief that couldn't happen, that men could not just love me on their own, that no one can just love me on their own because of who I am. And it's because of typically how you're raised. If you're raised in a home with conditions, and your parents may have not intentionally raised you that way, but if they only praised you if you did something well, or if they lashed out at you, if they had different emotions every other day and you didn't know what emotion you're going to get, if you felt like you had to walk on eggshells around them, all of that is so much more. So it comes from that. And so you have it, you had an anxious attachment to your parents. And so you are naturally, that's the attachment style you have. You felt you had to maybe earn things from your parents and earn their love and earn them praising you, or earn them being nice to you even, or earn them just having a good attitude that day. You felt like you had to do things to make them, act right, so to speak. So if you're growing up with parents like that, in a household like that, that's how you think love is going to be. So now that we understand what anxious attachment is, let's talk about how in the hell do you undo all that, unlearn all that? How do you move into a more secure attachment style? So here's what I did. For me, after 2 toxic relationships back to back, I finally decided, okay, some got to give, some got to change. It's not them. It must be something with me. Now, I didn't do all of my healing at once. A lot of my healing came after I got into a healthy relationship. But before, which I'm in now and I'm married. But before I got into this healthy relationship, the work that I did on me, this is what's important. This is how it's going to help you to learn to have a bit more secureness and safety within. So for me, I first decided that I need to build my confidence up so that I can be more assertive when I'm dating and not just tolerate anything. Because I don't want to be put back in that same place to where I'm begging to be loved. And so I just spent time alone and didn't date because I knew how it would go. And I remember I was tested and I dated someone, and I remember I had a little bit of anxiousness still there because I was like, I sensed and knew that he didn't really want a relationship, but I kind of stuck around and I was hoping that he would change his mind. I didn't force him to, but I had it back in my mind hoping that he would. So you will be tested. So I spent the time alone, built my confidence up, built my self-esteem up. And the way I did that was that I started doing more things alone, started really pouring more into me and my look. When I say pouring more into me and my look, I mean that I just became someone that I liked, I guess, so to speak. And when I say I became someone that I liked, I guess what I'm saying is that by the ways that I poured into me, by the things that I did, I started setting some little goals for myself about what I wanted to do. Really, I just focused on me. And by focusing on me, it helped me to see that I like who I am. I'm a good person. I have a lot of great things going on for me. I'm more than what I can do for somebody. I don't have to change them. And I started telling myself, like, I'm not going to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. Now, keep in mind, I didn't quite understand yet that there were different men out there that didn't need that, but I knew I wasn't tolerating it anymore. And so, and I didn't. And that's kind of slowly helped me to put away the anxious attachment and become more secure and more safe. And the way that I became more safe within myself is the alone time. I became more safe for myself because I got comfortable with my alone time. I got more comfortable with myself and who I am in my life. And I learned to start trusting myself. That was the key thing. That's what made me feel safe, because it made me validate myself. Because I'm like, okay, I trust myself to walk away if something is not right in a relationship, or if someone is coming at me and they're emotionally unavailable, or if I see the signs. I trust myself to walk away. I trust myself to make better decisions. I just started leaning more into me. And for me, I feel like moving to a more secure attachment is really becoming someone you can depend on. It's not being codependent. It's moving to more of a dependent attitude. And so when you're pouring into yourself, you're building your self-esteem so that you don't need the outside validation from a relationship or any man or anybody. And so they're just bonuses. You start looking at relationships as just bonuses and looking at it as like, okay, if you can't add to me, you're going to take away from me, so I don't want to deal with it. And you're not tolerating that anymore. And if they don't like it, you're okay with that. And it takes time to get there. I kind of faked it till I made it. I knew that I didn't want to be down and out like that. I knew the signs. And that's also how I moved into a secure attachment, because I came from an anxious attachment and I learned the signs. I learned the signs of what to look for. And so I took the lessons from my toxic relationships and I applied them to moving forward with dating. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again. So it's basically just learning and taking the lessons I learned and adding it to my wisdom and growth. I learned that, I'm not going for a man that has trust issues again, because men with trust issues just hurt me. And I learned to trust in myself. Like I said, I learned to trust in my own decisions, trust my own mind, trust my own gut, trust my own intuition. And really, for me, alone time is what did it. And I'm not saying like alone like nobody, but I didn't really focus too much on dating. I would talk to a few guys here and there, but it was nothing serious. It was nothing that I was just trying to move into a relationship. I lost that need to have a relationship. And the reason why I lost that need to have a relationship, which I feel like really adds to your anxiousness, and that's what caused you to have an anxious attachment to anyone you date, because you're already alone with an anxiousness that you really want someone. And so whoever you meet, you're going to latch on. You're going to instantly be anxious. And so erasing that need to have a relationship and to have someone really settled me into my own body. And it got me to depend on me and not an outside relationship. And the reason why I stopped depending on relationships because of how I knew it would end up, because of the toxic relationships. And I didn't really put two and two together, but I knew that doing that, I didn't want to be back in that place, because I got down and out and hurt so bad. That's why I tell any woman that has been through that's going through a very hard heartbreak, or that's having a hard time with it and has some love lost and all of that. I tell anyone that's got that down in a dark place that it's kind of beautiful in a sense, because that dark place that you're in, you're going to remember it. You're going to heal from it. And you're going to remember the lesson so that you won't ever get back in that place. And sometimes what happens is that you'll get scared anyway. That may happen. You may get to that place. But for me, it was the self-trust. I knew that I would never allow myself to get that deep and dark in that place again, because I wasn't dating the same. I wasn't dependent on relationships like that anymore. I wasn't dependent on a man like that anymore. I didn't. It just naturally started to happen, because I'm like, I'm not going to allow myself to get hurt like that again. And so instead of me saying just closed off to everybody, I learned that I couldn't be everything to everybody. I learned that, when dating, it's also about how someone can kind of add to my life. I started recognizing that. And so essentially what I was doing was learning to trust myself and learning to depend on me. And so becoming more secure in myself, what it looked like for me was no longer putting my dependence in a relationship or a man. And what I mean by that is that I felt only worthy if I had a man, or I felt only worthy if I was being chose, because I didn't know my worth outside of having someone, because I didn't know how else to determine my worth. And so once I started realizing that I don't need a man, a relationship to determine that about me, that I can determine that on my own, that I can have a good life experience on my own, I released that anxious attachment, so to speak. I released a lot of anxiousness, because it's like, even single, I was anxious because I just wanted someone. And I think it's because it's like you want someone to come take you away from your pain, I guess. Or you want someone to come take you away from yourself. Yeah, almost in a sense. It's because it's like you don't like yourself. And so you're wanting someone, deep down is that you didn't like yourself. And so you're looking for someone to come along and make you feel good about yourself. You're looking for someone to come along and appreciate you, appreciate any love you give, or someone that can just make you feel overall good about yourself. And so when you are putting so much dependence in a relationship and a man, that's gonna make you anxious. And so really what it was for me moving into a secure attachment is that I let that go. And so with me letting that need of a relationship go, I still wanted one, but I released the need to have one, if you get what I'm saying. I released the need that I needed one to make me feel good about myself, because it's like I started enjoying my life on my own, and I started realizing that I gave men too much power. And when I gave men that much power, it like they took a lot out of me when they left, because I gave so much trying to earn their love. And once I realized that I don't have to do that, and that I shouldn't be doing that, I stopped. So my dating life changed. And my dating life changed because I started looking for a different type of man. I did away with looking for men that were emotionally unavailable, or looking for someone that I could change, or looking for someone that I could fix, or a project. I stopped looking for that. And I started looking for someone that I guess matched my new level of healing. Because once you heal that part of you that had low self-esteem, or felt like you have to earn love, or felt like you weren't good enough, once you heal that part in you, you're no longer attracted to someone that hasn't done their work in that area. Meaning, I was no longer attracted to men that deep down had this like need for healing. Because of course my exes, they never really came out and said, I got trauma. I could see it in them and hear it in them when they talked about their past lives and how they acted. I seen it. I could sense it. That's part of my intuition, and that's part of, I guess, how I love. It's like I could sense it, and I knew. And so I thought that I could heal that. I thought that would make them appreciative of me and not want to hurt me or leave me, or make them like, I just thought that's what love was. And so once I let go of that idea of love, I healed. I started looking at men differently. And I started dating men that I knew were ready for what I wanted. And I even prayed about the man that I wanted, the type of man that I would want to be with. And once I did that, I feel like I moved to a secure attachment, because I stopped dating men that were emotionally unavailable. And once I stopped doing that, I was able to feel safer in the connection. You see what I'm saying? Because I was safer within myself, and I dated people that felt like I could eventually become safe with. Now, in the beginning, if I felt like I couldn't, I felt like there was some type of, wall up, or I felt like that something was off with the connection, or I felt like they were a little distant, or I felt like they started to be hot and cold, I'll admit that I wouldn't like leave them right away, that I wouldn't end things right away, but I wouldn't pour my all into them. I wouldn't look at them as like I gotta fix them. I would look at them as thinking like maybe they'll come around on their own once they see I'm a nice person. Meaning I wasn't trying, I wasn't chasing necessarily, or trying to put my all into them. I was just basically, I guess waiting for them. And then they'll eventually call it off when they realize I wasn't catching the signal. So I did have a little difficulty with that. But I had learned to not jump into it and pour my all into it, or end up in toxic. I never ended up in another toxic relationship after that, because I learned to not go that far with it. You know what I'm saying? And so, because even the guys that rejected me, or even the guys that it didn't work out with when I was dating after my toxic relationships, they were not toxic, they were decent. And I look back now and realize that them rejecting me, like it was one that rejected me, I realized that was the healthy thing for him to do. That was a very good sign of his maturity. And back then, when it first happened, of course I was disappointed and I was hurt by it. But now I look back and I'm so glad that it happened that way, because I'm like, I was ready to do some more toxic shit. And so being rejected, I've learned to look at it as being a good thing, because I don't want someone that doesn't want me, that's not for me. I don't want anything that's not for me. And so I learned to look at rejection as something that was a good thing, and not a reflection of my worth, not a reflection that I wasn't good enough and that someone else was better than me. I didn't look at it that way anymore. I just looked at it as like, okay, that's not for me. And if I want to get to what is for me, or who is for me, I need the rejection to happen, so that I'm not going down and through some more bullshit, because I wasn't going back to that dark place. and how I healed out of it. That's another story. I think I may talk about that on another podcast about how I healed from my toxic relationships and dating narcissists and things like that, how I actually worked on the healing. That may be either a bonus episode on my Patreon, or I may talk about it here too. I have to decide if I got enough to talk about how I heal, because I talked about that actually already on a previous podcast. It's only on my YouTube channel. You can go and check it out. It's Healing from Heartbreak, but I think I will do an updated version. But yeah, so moving into the secure attachment, it looked like me just becoming secure in myself and dating better quality men. That's how you work that. Because if you date someone and you try to be with someone that is actually emotionally available, someone that is healthy, someone that does have that knows how to communicate, someone that does what you want, someone that's just healthy overall. This is what I guess I'm getting at. Someone that actually is transparent, honest, genuine, true, respectful. Someone that's safe. Once you learn to date people like that and look for that and look for connections like that and no longer entertain the unavailable connections, you can revel in your new security because you have someone that's safe. So you have someone that's not making you anxious. Because I used to think that it was just the person making me anxious, but it's a little bit of you as well, because you are the one that's choosing to be in that situation when you know that someone is not healthy for you. So it's a component in you as well. I used to say, well, just date, better people, just date secure people. I'm anxious because I'm dating people that make me anxious, which is true. It's true, but you also have to look at the why are you dating people to make you anxious in? Why are you entertaining connections that are not safe for you? So I talked about that earlier, about why. So you get what I'm saying. So to be more secure, it's just being secure in yourself. And then once you're secure in yourself, you realize that you attract different, that you look for something different in people. And once you start looking for something different in people, that's when the secure connections happen. You get it? So it's essentially healing yourself so that you're not dating people that are wounded just like you. You're not, because we date our reflections. It's just simple as that. You were dating someone that was emotionally unavailable, someone that was detached or avoidant. You were dating someone that seems to be hot and cold, or someone like that, because they mirrored parts in you that needed to be loved, and you wanted someone to love. And so you were loving them the ways that you wish that someone would have loved you. You were loving them the way that you would have wanted. And so you're thinking you're doing them like a big favor, because you're like, oh, I have the same kind of pain. And oh, I have trauma too. So let me just love on them to get them to appreciate me and love me. So once you heal that part in you, you become more secure and you date more secure people. So that's really how you move from an anxious to a secure attachment. It's, yes, you can say in a nutshell, it's building your self-esteem and healing any deep wounds that cause you to be attracted to people that make you anxious. But it's also, dating better people. And the way you learn to date better people is by you becoming a better person yourself. By you healing within yourself. Because someone that's healed within themselves and someone that's, have done the work, you're not going to tolerate someone that hasn't done the work. You're going to date someone and want someone that's on your same vibrational level, if you get what I'm saying. And so that's what I did. It's like once I kind of started healing that part, I no longer wanted to entertain someone that made me feel anxious or that was unavailable or inconsistent, because I started to not like how that made me feel. And so when I moved into my now relationship and marriage now, and when I moved into my more secure relationship, it was some healing that I had to do within this new relationship as well. But it was a safe environment to do so. It was someone that I could securely attach to. And You can't securely attach to anyone that is unsafe, or that anxious themselves, or that have trust issues themselves. You can't securely attach to anyone like that. And so, something else I want to add before I go is about secure attachment is that I notice is that, and with the secure attachment, I feel like I am fine with or without someone, even my husband. And we talked about this before, and we were like, we'd be fine if we, I said, would she be fine if we didn't? I can't remember how I said it. And we was just joking around, and he was like, yeah, because it's like, I look at it as your loss, I move on, and this and that. Something like that we said. I don't remember exactly what we said, but that's neither here or there. But I remember we talked about it, and I'm like, that's actually what makes a secure attachment, is knowing that you are choosing each other consciously because you want to be together, not because you feel like you're afraid of losing each other or you're afraid of being abandoned. You're consciously together in a conscious relationship, and you are not afraid of losing them. If you are afraid of losing someone, then you probably need to lose them, is what I say. And what I mean by that is like, you can't be that attached to someone, that anxiously attached to someone, to where it's almost like you are insecure with them, because love is freedom. It's not this tight hold you have on someone where you feel so insecure that you got to have this tight hold on them because you're afraid of losing them and making you anxious. That's not what it is. And so it's like, now I'm in this space in my life to where I feel like I am happy with how things are going, but I'm okay that if they went left and we didn't end up together, I'll still be okay. I'll still have my life. I'll still have me. I feel safe within me, and I'm not letting a relationship define me. So that's what a secure attachment essentially is. You're getting to a point to where you can either do a relationship or do without it. And when you feel like you have the option that I can do without it, that's where the security comes in. And you come in with this, and that security comes into where you are not afraid to be without a relationship because of whatever fears you had tied to it. You have let that go, and you are now self-reliant. I hope that makes sense, because it's even gotten to the point to where I'm securely attached and I'm securing the connection, because I feel like even if like I was cheated on or anything like that, I still would be okay with moving on, because it's like I'm securely attached. That means I can detach. If that makes sense. But anyway, I feel like I'm getting off topic. I'm getting into one of my other topics I thought about talking about as well, about not being afraid of being cheated on again. So, yeah. But anyway, to move to secure attachment overall, girlfriends, you got to become secure within yourself and heal whatever wounds you may have that causes you to be attracted to people that are not good for you. People that are not safe for you. People that are emotionally unavailable. And that is your job to do. And it's like, I had to get to a point to where I am, like I said, okay with being alone. Not saying I want to be alone forever, that you have to just, be alone. It's saying that you're not dependent on a relationship to meet or to heal your wounds. You're not dependent on a relationship to make you feel secure within yourself. You're not dependent on a relationship to make you feel good about yourself. You're not dependent on a relationship for things that you should be getting from yourself, And so once you realize that you are okay on your own, and that you can continue to find love somewhere else, and that there's other people, once you realize that, that's when the security comes in. That's when the security came in for me. It's like I'm in this marriage now, in this connection, to where I feel like it's like we're attached, but it's securely attached. It's not a fear of us losing each other. So, yeah, you'll get there. It took me going through It took me going through those toxic relationships and healing from that, because the toxic relationships pointed out what needed to be healing in me. The toxic relationships pointed out a lot of things within me that I needed to work on. And so it took me going through those things in those relationships and all those in that dark place to get to the light. It took me going through that. And so once you go through that and you heal through that and you work on you, you become like this person that's changed, and your growth is evident in how you move and in how you date and in your life. And so once you are confident in yourself and you have the higher self-esteem, you can securely attach because you know that you're not dependent on it. And so that's in a nutshell what it is and how you move from anxious to secure. So I don't want to keep rambling on. I feel like I'm rambling, repeating the same thing, but I feel like it's more I want to say. But I may have to say that for a bonus episode on my Patreon if anything comes to me. Yeah. But that's all I got for this podcast episode, girlfriends. So until the next one, peace out.